Thank you, honourable members. Are there any other members who wish to speak on the motion? I can give the floor to. I see none. I will therefore call on the Honourable Prime Minister to deliver his speech in reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to thank all members of Parliament who have contributed to the debate on this important bill. Let me first of all also thank the Chairman and members of the Bills and Legislation Committee for their scrutiny of the bill and the report that is before us. I appreciate though they faced challenges in terms of resourcing, but they were able to produce a report for our debate. Mr. Speaker, I note a number of issues have been raised, and of course I also note the recommendations that have been made in the Bills and Legislation Committee report, and some of these recommendations were also referred to during the debate on Tuesday and of course yesterday. A number of important issues were raised during the debate on this from both sides of the House, from the Leader of Opposition, the Chairman of the Bills and Legislation Committee, the Leader of the Independent Group, as well as the Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, who spoke from that side on this important bill. And on this side of the House, we also heard from ministers, the Crown, who also shared their views on this bill. The Minister of Finance and Treasury pointed out a number of important matters in terms of the thematic areas that the Constitutional Reform Unit within the Office of the Prime Minister needs to look at, apart from the importance of the cost-benefit analysis work. The Minister of Finance also made reference to the gaps that we need to look at in terms of the draft federal constitution, but also the various processes and initiatives that should go along with these reforms in terms of the economy as well, because this does contribute at the end of the day in terms of us making an informed decision going forward in terms of this important arrangement. There are also views that have been expressed in terms of the approach, whether we go through this approach or by way of an act of Parliament to manage and to administer the devolution of powers and functions through to the state government. And so a number of views were also expressed on that. Mr. Speaker, the objective of the bill is very clear, though. Basically, three amendments that are being sought. One is to amend the date from 31st December 2024 to 31st December 2026. The second amendment is to increase the membership of the Constituent Assembly from 80 to 100. And the third amendment is to clear the ambiguity, to make sure it's clear in terms of the Speaker's voting rights. Mr. Speaker, this side of the House, the government, we have taken on board a number of the proposals that the other side of the House, including the Bills and Legislation Committee, in terms of those amendments. For example, in terms of the deadline, I thought we had reached a consensus with the other side of the House to leave the date open for the minister responsible to decide when to call the meeting. Hence, the Constituent Assembly shall sit at a date when called upon by the minister responsible for the office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. We've also accommodated their proposal that we do increase the numbers not only from 80 to 100, but from 80 to 150. Then it's also in a proposal that the provision and the Speaker's voting rights have also been made clear. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, we have not been able to get the feedback from both the opposition side and the independent side in terms of their positions, their views on those proposed amendments. But as a government, Mr. Speaker, as a government, we are committed. Our commitment is there. We have the standing commitment from the government of national unity and transformation to continue work on this important constitutional reform. So, Speaker, as I've just said, we have noted the recommendation from the Bills and Legislation Committee to consider increasing the number of the Constituent Assembly membership to 150 to align with the original recommendation from the Constitutional Congress and the Eminent Persons Group, EPAC. And during the debate on Tuesday and yesterday, this was also raised. And as I've said, after much discussions, the government side has agreed to increase the membership of the Assembly from 100 to 150. So, although the government is of the view that the increase of membership to 100 from the original 80 members is sufficient to fulfill the intention for broader representation and more inclusive decision-making, we also acknowledge that even with the above representation, there may still be groups and sectors of our communities, including minority groups, that may feel marginalized, as they may feel their premiers or MPs or assigned representatives may not adequately understand their concerns and thus may not be able to fully represent them. And we've also heard from the MP for Central Honoria and Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, who also suggested and made reference to the possibility to look at locating seats to different language groups within the country, although I thought that all 50 members of parliament do represent those language groups also in our country. Mr. Speaker, in terms of the Speaker's voting right, the Bills and Legislation Committee has sought clarification whether or not the Speaker of Parliament, being chair of the Constituent Assembly, will or will not have voting rights. Other members have also raised this on the floor in the debate during the past 2 days. So, Speaker, Clause 5(8) states that the Constituent Assembly shall comprise the Speaker of Parliament as the chairperson of the Constituent Assembly and 50 members. So I agree that the Act is silent as to whether or not the Speaker has voting rights. Based on the recommendation from the IPAC and the Constitutional Congress, the Speaker should not vote but remain neutral. So, Speaker, the Attorney General has clarified that it is implicit in the current Act that the Speaker does not have voting rights. However, to ensure clarity, we have agreed, the government side have agreed to make an amendment to this clause during the committee stage, if we are able to get to that stage, to clarify that the Speaker is not a voting member. The Deputy Speaker, on the other hand, is a member of Parliament, and so he or she has voting rights, except in the case where the Deputy Speaker assumes the Speaker's chair when the Speaker is unable to participate. Mr. Speaker, I note the concerns raised on the words in consultation used in Clause 4, C2 of the bill. The Prime Minister is a minister responsible for the Constitution. As a responsible minister, he or she will initiate the consultation with leader of opposition and leader of the independent group before appointing the 10 members. I believe this process is fair, normal, and straightforward. So, the cost-benefit analysis of the federal government system is a very important, outstanding task that needs to be conducted and concluded before the Constituent Assembly meets. The Constitutional Reform Unit within the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet has prepared the terms of reference to engage a consultant to carry out this work next year. This will be treated as priority, and we hope to have the cost-benefit analysis report when that work is completed. Mr. Speaker, it is also important to highlight at this juncture that whilst the focus of the Constituent Assembly is the federal constitution, it is also important to note that preliminary analytical work needs to commence on state constitution, because when states are created under the federal constitution, they need to be operational in order to work in practice. This means that we also need to start thinking about state constitutions and, of course, the next level of governance under the state level. Mr. Speaker, a number of members who have spoke on the debate on the bill have also made reference to the importance of ongoing review of the Provincial Government Act to address the issues and demands of the provincial governments in terms of devolution of powers, decentralization, and fair revenue sharing. The Ministry of Provincial Government is working closely with the Office of the Prime Minister and other government agencies on this important matter. So, in terms of the draft rules of procedure for the Constituent Assembly, as required by Section 4(2) of the Constitution Amendment, Constituent Assembly Act 2023, the Constitutional Reform Unit of the Office of the Prime Minister is mandated to prepare the draft rules of procedure. I wish to inform the House that a draft has been sent to the legal drafting team of the Attorney General's Office for vetting. Mr. Speaker, the moving of the date for the Constituent Assembly to meet the date to be called upon when the Minister responsible will allow for more time, if we agree to this amendment, for the preparation of all the processes required before the Constituent Assembly is important so that we can complete a huge amount of tasks that are there to be completed. We came in as a government in May this year. The challenges facing the Constitutional Reform Unit did impact on their efforts in terms of some of these arrangements, including capacity constraints in terms of manpower, but also reservations on their budget also affected the amount of work that they are able to do. So the extension, as now proposed with a new amendment, will provide ample time for consultations and stakeholders and logistical arrangements for the Assembly. This extension will also ensure that the Constituent Assembly can convene with a comprehensive understanding of the issues at hand, and a lot of these issues were raised during the debate during the past days, especially a number of important points, a number of gaps, thematic areas as outlined by the Minister of Finance and Treasury and others who took the floor. The Constitutional Reform Unit, together with the task force, have started the preparatory work this year by holding consultations with the provincial governments. And it's important to also note, colleagues, that a number of the provincial governments that came in are new. They came in following the elections, the joint elections. So it takes time for them to also properly understand and read the federal constitution and the other preparatory work that needs to be undertaken. It is imperative that all preparatory work and activities are completed before convening the meeting to set the stage for a successful deliberation and outcome. Mr. Speaker, I believe by allowing for more time for dialogue and consultation, we can address any potential concerns as well. Therefore, I urge all stakeholders to actively participate in this important process to ensure the analysis of the proposed federal constitution is objective and comprehensive. Mr. Speaker, I have full confidence that through collaboration we can conclude our work, fully assess the proposed federal constitution, and also fully understand the advantages and potential disadvantages of the draft federal constitution to guide our final decision as a nation. Mr. Speaker, we must work towards a constitution that upholds the values of peace, democracy, justice, and equality of all citizens. And again, I think this important point has been reiterated by a number of speakers during the past 2 days. Therefore, supporting this bill is crucial to fostering a collaborative and inclusive approach as a way forward to building a strong foundation for our nation's governance and ensure that the rights and freedoms of all individuals are protected. Supporting this bill is also an opportunity to shape a constitution that will stand the test of time and serve as a beacon of hope for generations to come. Colleagues, let us unite in our commitment to building a brighter future for our nation. Mr. Speaker, I understand that passing this constitutional amendment requires 3/4 of the House. That is about 37.5. Of course, we cannot have human beings, so that's 38. It needs 38 MPs to vote in favor of the amendment. I sense it that despite our genuine and best efforts, we do not have the support of the other side of the House to pass this important amendment. But it is important, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to reiterate this. The Constitution as it reads now requires the implementation of the Constituent Assembly by 31st December 2024. If the House or if Parliament amend the date, if the House or Parliament does not amend the date, the House is intentionally encouraging or perpetuating a constitutional breach. So, Mr. Speaker, we must do the right thing, amend the Constitution, and ensure that the legislature does not entertain a contravention of the Constitution. Those voting no must know that they will vote no, knowing the above impacts of the bill not being passed. With these remarks, Mr. Speaker, I once again wish to reiterate the strong commitment of the GNAT government going forward in terms of this important constitutional reform matter. The need for us, for the Constituent Assembly, to really sit down when all the work is prepared to look at the way going forward. So with this, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Constitution Amendment, Constituent Assembly Sitting Bill 2024 be now read the second time.